Okay, today's project is going to be the reusable produce bags. I've seen a few people in them, or using them in the supermarket, and all they are is just netting. Now this netting is a piece of white, and I had it left over from a different project. It comes 36 inches wide, and you can see it comes in different kind of, I guess, gauge is what you'd call it. Has like a bigger hole. Some of them have really small, fine holes. I'm thinking that for this project, the little bit bigger hole is going to be better. These bags are really great because they let your produce breathe. You can use them in the store. They're really lightweight because of the tool, so and the net, so you won't be paying a lot of extra for the bag when they're putting it on the scale with your produce and stuff in it. And then also they're washable. So if something goes bad in the bag or something happens, you can just throw them in the washer and wash them, and then they're ready to go on your next shopping trip. And you put them right in your fridge. So you don't even have to take everything out of the plastic or transfer it or any of that kind of stuff. So I think they're great. And I think I'm going to go back to the fabric store, and I'm going to try to get some other colors. I mean, it comes in every color imaginable, so I might try to do some funky stripe or something. I don't know, I might get really creative. So anyway, what I did is I folded the salvages together just like you would do when you're making, anything that you're cutting a pattern out of. So I folded those together, and then I brought the fold up to meet the salvage, and I went ahead and I squared off both sides with my rotary cutter. Make sure you fold really careful and you don't have any bumps or weird stuff at the bottom, because then your cut line will be real wavy. Of course, on this project it's not a huge deal, but it's a good habit to get into. So then what I did is I opened this back up. Now I'm going to fold it the opposite way. I'm going to fold cut edge to cut edge. So each salvage on each side is folded to itself. And of course I'm working one-handed, so this is a little hard to show you, but cut edge to cut edge. So it's folded across the width, with the width. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to cut these. It's 36 inches wide, so I'm going to cut this into 3 bags. So each bag I'm going to cut 12, one 12-inch piece, another 12-inch piece, and a third 12-inch piece. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll go, and this will take no time on the sewing machine. Okay, now we're at the sewing machine, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch in the side seams. Because we folded it at the bottom, there's no bottom seam, so that's just one less seam you have to sew. These are so fast. I'm going to go ahead and use a 5/8 inch seam allowance. I'm going to use, on my machine, it's a zigzag. I'm going to use a zigzag, and you can see I'm about 3/4 of the way. I'm at a 3 on my machine. And then as far as stitch length goes, I want a pretty short stitch length. I'm going to only use a 1, and you can see how close that is to buttonhole stitch length on my machine. So that's kind of a gauge for yours to, kind of get you an idea of what to set your machine at. With netting, you can't really use a straight stitch. It's going to need to stretch some. And a true stretch stitch doesn't really work because it just kind of bunches everything together, because netting will just give in a lot while the stitch is going in. So I'm going to use a zigzag, and it's going to look flat when I'm all done. But the zigzag is going to allow that stitch to stretch, so that when there's stretch and tension on the fabric, it's not just going to pop and break. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that all the way down. I'm going to back stitch at the end, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to sew again in between that and the edge, which is about 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to do a double seam. I'm 5/8 and then 3/8 with that zigzag setting. Okay, here we're back, and I sewed this on the machine, and you can see how that stitch just really lays pretty flat there. I mean, it looks a little bit like a zigzag, but you can see also that you can stretch the stitch and it's not going to break on you. So you won't have oranges rolling all over the grocery store floor because it pulled and broke. So that's good. Now we're going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and leave this edge. I mean, it's a little produce bag. It's not really a big deal to me. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that. We're going to turn it inside out, one-handed, of course. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to make the pocket for the drawstring. So we've turned it inside, or right side out, I'm sorry, right side out, so that your seam's on the inside. Now I'm just going to flip this over and sew it, because it doesn't bother me that that edge is out. It's not going to ravel. You know, I don't need it to look extremely cute or anything like that. So, and you're not even going to notice it. It's just kind of going to blend in with the rest of the netting. So I'm just going to turn it that way because I'm thinking that I'm going to sew, and then when I get back around here I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap, and then that'll be the gap that I can put my ribbon or whatever through, and then I can just cinch it up and tie it there. So, you know, I'm not going to put a whole lot of extra time. I'm not going to try to put a buttonhole to feed it through or anything like that. So I'm just going to leave a little, probably 3/8, half-inch little gap there, and I think that'll work just fine. And if it doesn't, then I'll go back and think of something else later, but I'm going to try that first. Okay, I know I'm just going to do this one more time and show you. This is the right side, and I have flipped this casing back on itself. Normally you would flip it the other way so that these edges are on the inside, but I want my drawstring to be on the outside, and I think it'll just be easier to try it this way first. So this is flipped to the outside, and I'm going to use about a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to flip it a little bit past 5/8. I'm not going to really measure too much out. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, because, you know, to me it's not a big thing to have it perfect, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to use the same zigzag stitch setting so that it stretches, and I'll put that in. Okay, so here I've put in, I just used a piece of ribbon for my drawstring, and I used a safety pin, and I just put it through the end and then fished it through the casing. Now this one I did on the side, and then when I did this one I decided, oh, I think I want it kind of a little bit off center, off the middle, and I think that's kind of cute, and I'll just tie it with a little bow. So there you go, little bags. Really, really easy to do. You could do them for produce. You could even, oh, there's so many design possibilities. Besides just changing the color and the ribbon, you could, you know, use drawstring, or you could use yarn, or you could use something funky or rickrack or whatever you got laying around. You could also make these, like if you were going to do a baby gift, you could make something like this and fill it with diapers. When you did this top part, you could make this casing a different color. You could make it folded over really wide, and then when you draw it up, it would make its own ruffle across there. You know, you could fill it with kind of stuff. It'd be great to take something like this to the beach if you weren't going to carry very much, or carry little snacks in it or something. You could use fabric dye and spray it and then heat set it in your dryer. Oh, there's so many possibilities with these. So anyway, have fun making them, and send me pictures and show me what you come up with. Okay.